There is a type of childhood behavior that almost every parent overlooks. Not because it's rare, but because it doesn't look like intelligence at first glance. And what's even more interesting is that some children show these signs long before they can explain anything with words. And maybe the most important part is this: you might be seeing it every single day without realizing what it actually means. Because intelligence in childhood doesn't show up as getting the right answer. It shows up in the way a child perceives the world. Instead of reacting immediately, some children seem to pause for a moment. They watch more. They take things in. They delay their response before entering a situation. And this is often misunderstood as shyness or distraction. But there's another deeper possibility here. The brain might simply be processing more information before deciding to act. And that completely changes how this behavior should be interpreted. Because it's not a lack of reaction. It's an overload of analysis before action. Some children pick up on things most adults completely miss: changes in tone of voice, subtle shifts in the environment, facial expressions that barely change. And this is not random sensitivity. It can reflect a higher level of environmental awareness. The brain isn't just seeing the world, it's mapping the world in multiple layers at the same time. And that creates a subtle but important difference. While some filter reality out, others take more of it in, and this is where many parents start noticing something early on. The child asks why more intensely than expected, or they don't seem satisfied with simple explanations. And this is often seen as stubbornness. But it might be something else, a drive to understand cause and structure, not just outcomes. As if the brain doesn't just want to know what it is, but why it is that way. And that completely changes the level of mental processing involved, because it's not surface-level curiosity, it's the search for a mental model of the world. In some children, there is a very specific reaction when something doesn't immediately make sense to them. It could be a change in routine, a vague instruction, or a situation that feels too new. And the reaction is not just simple tantrum or irritation. It's like the brain temporarily locks up due to lack of clarity. Because some developing minds don't handle incomplete information well. They don't just want to participate in a situation, they want to understand the structure of it first. And that changes everything, because it's not emotional in a shallow way, it's cognitive. And this might be one of the most misunderstood signs. Some children go into a deep focus mode on very specific things: a toy, a pattern, a sound, an idea, and nothing around them seems to easily break that attention. This is not just selective distraction. It can be a form of deep concentration on a single stimulus. The brain temporarily reduces everything else to process that one thing in more detail. And here's the important part. The deeper the focus, the more the external world seems to fade out for a moment. And this is where things get really interesting. Some parents describe these children like this: his mind never stops. He thinks too much. He notices everything. And this isn't just emotional exaggeration. From a neurological perspective, there may be a difference in how the brain filters information. Less automatic filtering, more information coming in at the same time. This creates a constant internal feeling of a mind that never switches off. And this may explain why these children often seem more curious, more sensitive to their environment, faster to notice changes, but also more easily overwhelmed. And this might be one of the most misunderstood signs of all. Some children seem oddly out of sync with kids their own age, not because they dislike them, not because they think they're better, but because their brain is often looking for a different level of stimulation. Parents sometimes notice things like they'd rather sit with adults and listen. They ask questions most kids aren't asking. They seem interested in conversations far beyond their age. And at first, this can look unusual. But there may be something deeper happening, because some highly gifted children become interested in ideas long before they have the emotional maturity to fully manage them. So, while other children are focused on the game itself, they're often curious about the rules behind the game, the reason things work, the logic underneath. And that's why they sometimes connect more easily with older children or adults, not because they're trying to grow up faster, but because their curiosity is already reaching beyond what most children around them are talking about. And for many parents, this is the moment everything starts to make sense. And when you start putting all of this together, something begins to emerge behind all the signs. These aren't isolated behaviors. They aren't coincidences. They're variations of the same pattern, a different way of processing the world, and that completely changes how you understand these children. Because maybe it's not just about being more intelligent in the simple sense, but about experiencing the world with more intensity, more detail, and fewer filters. And if all of this could be translated into what these children might be experiencing internally, it might sound something like this. I notice things other people miss. I don't just want answers. I want to understand why. When something doesn't make sense, I can't simply let it go. When I become interested in something, my brain wants to go deeper. And maybe that's why some of these children seem different from such an early age. Not because they're trying to stand out, but because their brains are constantly searching for patterns, meaning, and understanding. Because when people imagine a highly intelligent child, they usually picture perfect grades, advanced vocabulary, or exceptional academic performance. But the earliest signs often look very different. Endless questions, intense focus, sensitivity, overthinking, or frustration when things don't make sense. And that's why so many gifted children go unnoticed, because the signal doesn't always look like intelligence. Sometimes it looks like intensity. And maybe that's the biggest realization of all. What makes these children different isn't simply how much they know, it's how deeply they process the world around them. And if this type of content helps you understand your child in a completely different way, subscribe to the channel, because here, we don't just look at children's behavior. We explore what may be happening inside the developing brain behind those behaviors, and that changes everything. Now, if you want to understand why some children seem to need their parents nearby to fall asleep, click on the next video on your screen, because there you'll discover what the brain is actually doing during those moments, and why understanding it can completely change the way you see sleep, attachment, and emotional security. I'll see you there.